listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV network. Now the largest new media platform on the web and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Gene. Johnson.
The AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California. Presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AFTERBUZZ TV's Parenthood After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Parenthood After Show.
May God bless and keep you always. May your wishes all come true. May you always do for others what others do for you.
It's her jam.
It really is. Phil's even dancing in the booth too. Hello everybody, welcome back to AFTERBUZZ TV. Parenthood.
For the reclap.
Reclap. I don't know if you guys watch another after show here that
Dance Moms, baby.
But,
they
yes,
taught me that. I love it. The AFTERBUZZ reclap.
But sure, yeah, this isn't Dance Moms though. This is Parenthood.
Wrong show, guys. Wrong show.
We are here doing season 5, episode 19 already. My goodness, fraud alert. Overall, what did you think of this episode?
It was nice to have another happy, feel-good episode after so many really intense tearjerkers.
I agree.
Lots of action in this episode. The first opening scenes were kind of sex scenes. A lot of the Bravermans were naked, and then there was a lot of like surfing going on, a lot of, you know,
Surfboard.
ATVing, lots of like action, like rollerblading, and
Very happy, feel good.
Yeah.
How are you?
I liked it. I thought that a lot of the scenes, there's just a lot of scenes.
There is a lot.
And a lot of them were really short and kind of, you know, just showing like the ATV action, which is great to see, but nothing really happening.
like a happy filler episode.
Yeah, it was like a filler episode.
A fun filler episode. But you know what? We should probably introduce ourselves.
Oh.
Phil threw me off at the reclap. But I'm your host, Marisa Serafini, and with me we have another full panel tonight.
I'm Danica Kennedy.
I'm Alana Jordan.
And I'm Tiona Hobson.
Yes, we're all back. Yes, like you were saying, this was a feel-good episode. A lot of fun moments here, and a lot of nice, fun father-son bonding time. Mm-hmm. And you know what? Let's start off with Zeke and Crosby. So Zeke finds on the internet, what was it, Craigslist or something, that there's this guy in Oregon who's selling this grill for his GTO car that he's remodeling at a really good price. And he drags Crosby out of bed after spooning with Jasmine, saying, hey, we're going to go to Oregon in the morning. Get ready. We're going on a road trip to go get this grill.
I think this just shows that you're never too old to have a great father-son bonding road trip. And I loved it. I loved everything about this, from Zeke walking in on Crosby and Jasmine. I thought that was awesome.
That was hilarious.
Because they're, smushed up in Crosby's old bed, and, it's like a twin-sized bed that they're sleeping in. At least it looked pretty small. And then, just their whole road trip adventure was just like, yeah, the guys going out and doing guy things, and also, just having a chance to sit down with your dad and talk about life and what's going on.
Yeah.
They got to have fun, too. They weren't with their wives and kids. Like, Zeke had to have his cigar, and he got to get that motorcycle.
Yeah, exactly. And so they go on this road trip, and then during the whole nice bonding moment, and then during the road trip they spot ATVs, and that's always fun. I mean, like, I grew up in Podunk, so I know what that's like. But what did you think of this whole experience when they actually got to Oregon and they dealt with this really rude kind of owner there? They kind of had the bait and switch, and the guy was like, well, we actually, this is a state-of-the-art, one-of-a-kind kind of grill for a GTO. You're never going to find anything like it. And I don't know anything about cars, but I'm like, okay, sure, I believe you. But Zeke had made the agreement with Paulie over, like, online the day before, saying that they agreed on the $450 price, but this guy that they're dealing with today, Ernie, thank you, wants to kind of up the value and try to get more out of him. What did you think of this whole bait and switch situation?
Don't shop on Craigslist.
Well, Zeke kind of called it from the start, because the reason he wanted to go up there was, he said, I talked to the guy on the phone and it all sounds kind of shady, but I want to go up there and see it for myself and check things out and, you know, go get it. Because Crosby's whole thing was, why are we not just sending him the money and having him send it to us? And Zeke kept repeating that, you know, the guy just didn't sound all there on the phone. So,
well, I think it was also that Zeke was just trying to avoid the whole situation with the house, and he was just trying to run away anywhere he could to kind of put it out of his mind. So, you know, he obviously was upset with the situation when he was saying it was now going to be 700 instead of the 400, but I think ultimately it was kind of, well, he didn't really care as much about the grill.
Yeah, and we find out Zeke actually had something more deeper going on within him. He's kind of having a late life crisis, which I thought it was very good of Zeke to actually open up to Crosby about that and actually admit that to himself, that he's feeling a bit old. And having this spur-of-the-moment road trip with a son after something that he loves, that it would help him feel young again.
I think the road trip pushed him to make the decision to want to sell the house more too, because he's getting out of that house. He's always there, you know, working on the cars, and he's very comfortable in his environment, which makes you feel old. I'm sure that's what old people do. They sit at home and they watch TV and they go walk around malls and things like that. So you can't just do that. You have to go out and adventure in a road trip if you want to feel young. And I'm sure that sparked his interest to make him want to move somewhere smaller so he could travel more with his wife.
Yeah. But this conversation with Zeke and Crosby, I think it was good that Zeke finally came to that moment of acceptance. He is getting old. He does have to move on. He does have to sell the house.
I'm glad he said it out loud. I think when Crosby was saying, you know, have you brought this up to Mom? And Zeke was saying no. But I think once he said it out loud and he was like, I feel like I'm cashing in the chips. I'm getting near the end. But then Crosby saying, you know, we just rode ATVs. We're hanging out. This isn't the end of your life. This is the start of something new.
Yeah, and I think that him also saying, you know, that he already told Camille that he would sell the house, but it just felt like things were happening so fast because, you know, the house wasn't even on the market yet before they get this outrageous offer on it and stuff. So I think that played a big part in it too, in his hesitation. And, you know, he said he agreed to sell the house, but he also probably thought he had another 5-6 months. You know, it takes a while usually for houses to sell, so he probably thought he still had a couple more months at least with the house, not 72 hours to make up his mind and, you know, start escrow and all that. And,
you know, that's a really nice house. I mean, I'm sure there were a lot of people who were after it, so I'm not surprised that there was a high bidder out there that fast. But with an all cash offer like that and so fast, it concerns me what they're gonna do to the house. Is he really gonna live there? Is he gonna tear it down and start over? Does he just want the land?
They're gonna tear it down.
Yeah. Are they gonna build a parking lot there?
Oh, that'd be terrible.
Just makes you
tragic. You know,
tragic.
That is reality.
That's another fight for another day.
Yep, that does happen. So after this nice heartfelt conversation, they go back to Ernie's, and because Crosby was eyeing the motorcycle in that junkyard area, and he's like, you know what, we'll make a deal. You sell the girl for $450, and I'll also buy this motorcycle. So they're both happy.
Yeah, but is Jasmine happy?
I was thinking Jasmine's being really cool when he shows up and she's like, is that your dad's? You have a motorcycle now. You also have a baby.
Yeah, you know? We have a newborn child.
She wasn't that bad, though.
She wasn't upset at all.
My biggest concern was you found a motorcycle in a junkyard and then drove it 500 miles and nothing happened. Like, it didn't break down on you. You didn't have any major issues. That just doesn't seem like the... I'd take it to a mechanic to get checked out.
I thought it was weird. You have a truck. Put the motorcycle on the back. You don't have to drive it.
Really awesome driving down PCH with the wind in his hair and the sunglasses on.
I mean, but who wouldn't want to do that? You just bought a motorcycle. You're gonna want to ride it, no matter how old it is.
San Francisco and Berkeley, the Bay Area isn't that close to Oregon. That's really
They said 500 miles. That's
At least
That's a good
500 miles.
You could do that in a day.
You could do it in a day, but it's still on a motorcycle. You
junkyard
found in a
motorcycle.
I don't know how long it's
Still
been in the
a long
junkyard.
way away.
Did they have to jump it to get it to start? Like,
Well,
The
many
magic of
questions.
television.
it was a good. I mean, this guy, he specializes in vintage vehicles, so it probably was actually a really good motorcycle, despite how old it is. But yes, so they get back home. Jasmine now has a new motorcycle as well, and I was surprised that Crosby didn't really watch Jabbar get onto it. I'm like, dude, that's a motorcycle. And he's like hopping onto it. You should probably watch a kid right now.
He's one of those dads that like doesn't care though. He's like,
like you want to go check it out? Here's the keys.
He'll
you
learn
go.
his lesson on his own.
There you go. So yeah, that was nice to see. And then we also see Zeke finally tell Camille, let's sell the house. So we kind of got that cap to that. So another nice father-son moment in this show, we had Max and Adam. This was so sweet. I mean, okay, unfortunately, we know last week Max, the student on the
Field trip,
peed in Max's canteen. Terrible. So Max, Christina, and Adam. Well, actually, Max wasn't at that parent meeting thing there. So they go to the school, talk to the principal and the dean, and also Mr. Knight, complaining that something should happen. There should be justice served, doled out to these kids that bullied Max. What did you think of how this all went down? Did you think the adults, the school staff was in the wrong for how they responded to to Adam and Christina's concerns?
I get how they said, we can't just go accusing kids, but it also felt like the principal and the dean just didn't want to have to deal with Max anymore because he has been such a problem in the past with his teachers and with the students and everything. They're like, it's only a month left, so what if he just doesn't come back? I think they were just ready to get rid of him, and this was a perfect out for them. And I was glad that Mr. Knight was there to kind of stand up for Max and to say, no, this is wrong. Like, I'm on Adam and Christina's side. Something needs to be done because it's not going to stop. And you also can't expect a kid to just walk up and be like, I'm the kid who peed in the canteen. What kid is actually going to do that? No one's going to just come out and say it was them. You have to actually investigate it, but it doesn't look like they're investigating anything because they're not questioning the kids. They're not asking, around to see who might have done it.
But they're also just letting it happen.
Yeah.
And not really forgiving or just letting it happen. I'm sorry. I'm just so frustrated that they're not doing anything or no punishments to any of the kids. I would maybe just as a collective whole class, postpone any field trips that they're on, really discipline them in that, because they're essentially allowing bullying in the school.
Yeah. I mean, I remember in school, junior high school, something happening with bullying or something like that, and a class graduation trip or something, it got canceled.
Yeah.
It was like, you guys, until someone comes forward and says who it was, this is not okay. There's repercussions for your actions. So since no one's stepping up, everyone's punished right now, and you can't go do this.
Yeah, and they are 8th grade. This is their last month of school. So they say
there's some graduation party or something.
There's parties, there's dance. I'm sure that the end of the year dance, I don't think they have prom, but the annual end of the year dance or field trip, they should do something to this class to reprimand them in some way.
Especially because Max even knows who it is, and the other kids clearly know who it is. They're just not even making any effort at all. And Christina points out, you're punishing my child for being the victim. You're not punishing the student who's bullying.
And I thought Christina was so right for calling them out and being like, this is asinine. You, and you should thank Mr. Knight for actually being the only one sticking up for Max in this whole ordeal that went down.
And the sad thing is that things like this actually happen all the time, where there's the bully kid or the popular kid picking on the kid that isn't as well liked or a little socially awkward, and they're kind of a pain to deal with in class, so the school will just be like, oh, we don't want to deal with them instead. So they just want him to be at home, which isn't the right thing to do. They should punish the other kid and be like, hey, maybe you should get Max into another school that fits him better. There could be a way more professional, polite way to go about handling it.
Yeah.
But then it turns out Max refuses to go to class anyway.
Max doesn't want.
He will
Max
not go back to that
says he
school.
does not want to go back to Cedar. Whatever.
No.
I don't
Cedar
blame
Knoll.
him though.
I don't
It doesn't
blame
fit
him.
him.
No, I don't blame him.
But I also appreciate what Mr. Knight said about, you know, if we fail one student, but the fact that one of your students doesn't feel safe enough to come to your school daily means that something's wrong with the system and something needs to be fixed. And the fact that the principal and the dean didn't understand or even care about that point, just we're trying to dust their hands of Max for the last month. No, one of your students, whether it be Max who has Asperger's or a student who doesn't have Asperger's, is just a normal kid who is still socially awkward or not as popular. If it had been someone without Asperger's, would you have changed the way you reacted?
Yeah.
Would you have fought for that kid differently than you're fighting for the kid with Asperger's? So
Yep.
I think it brings up a really good point. You know, you fail one kid, you fail them all, because for every Max, there's 3 other Maxes out there who feel the same way. And that's where we get all these kids, you know, committing suicide and stuff because they don't feel like they're being fought for. Sorry, I just got real deep.
That got real deep.
I agree, Tiana.
Sorry.
Preach it, girl. Preach it.
All right.
I couldn't have
It's all
said it
good.
better.
Oh, wipe the tear.
Wipe the tear away.
I couldn't said it better. But I agree. And the fact that this was their last month, I'm surprised that they didn't give another alternative. Say, how about you homeschool him for the last month, and we like send him the homework, and he can do the work at home, and then you can finish it that way.
Or even if he went
because he's so close to graduation.
Yeah, or even if he went to school and did his work in the library or something with a private tutor, you know, had one of the teachers sit with him to go over all his work and do his classes just outside of there. I don't know.
Well, at this point, I think that Adam and Christina are just as fed up with the school as the school is with them. So I really liked that one scene where Adam and Max are hanging out and he says, screw Cedar Knoll, and Max does his whole, hey, I would get in trouble. I would lose screen time for that. And he's like, I'll give you more screen time if you say screw Cedar Knoll.
That was great. So Adam, because this is all getting to Max, and Adam realizes that and takes him surfing.
I think that was a great idea.
I loved it.
To get him out. He's been dealing with all that drama at school, and I think everyone needs an outlet. And the photography thing hasn't really been working out for him lately.
No.
Because Sarah and Hank, but, which is a whole other story.
But we do actually see, because back in season 1, when Adam was having all the stress in his life, he needed that getaway moment, and he went away to the beach to go surf. And it was very much kind of like the same thing tonight. That's like, Max needs to be happy, I'm going to go take him surfing. And he actually had fun, to the point where Max even wanted Christina to be joining on the fun.
I loved that.
That was sweet.
When Max, you know, and that's a big moment, especially for a child with Asperger's to say, Mom, I really want you to come. I want you to be a part of this. That's
And
so touching.
She's like,
for
I can't
her.
say no to that.
Yeah. And Max is also teaching Christina how to use his own camera. I don't think he's let anyone touch that camera.
That was really big.
So that's a big step in Max's direction too. So power to him. But that I liked that. Unfortunately, like with all the things that just went down with him, his parents are still there, sticking up for him and making him happy.
Yeah, and I'm glad that we actually got to see Max surf, because the first time they went surfing, we didn't actually see them in the water or anything. Yeah. And I was like, what? They're not going to show us with the father-son bonding thing? And then I'm glad that it ended, you know, and he actually was out there in the water with Christina watching.
Nice. And Max Burkholder did tweet tonight that they actually did film that scene. Max and Adam surfing for the first time together, but it did get cut. But they did have the end scene where all of them were together. Cool. So I thought that was interesting. Nice. So very sweet. Let us know what you think about Max's whole situation. Did you like the fact that Adam and Christina helped him and took him out of school and had that fun? I thought it was sweet. Let us know what you think on iTunes. Go ahead, rate and comment and subscribe. Subscribe to the other AfterBuzz shows we do here. We do about 75 shows now a week. Crazy. Ooh. And only more to come. So yes, please do that, and then rate and comment also on iTunes, YouTube as well, because we read all the comments, and thank you all for loving Parenthood as much as we do.
Yay.
So other kids in tonight's episode, Victor and Sydney, they're kind of having problems with their parents in the marriage. Yeah, Sydney still being that.
That's my comment.
Yeah, I think we're all there. But Sydney still being that kind of brat.
Annoying.
But, so Joel calls Amber, asks for a babysitter, and I love how Amber just automatically volunteers Drew.
Poor Drew.
Like, Drew's not doing anything. He's totally free. He can come over at 4 to babysit. So Drew goes over, and then the kids, they're playing games, but they're not really having fun. And then
they're upset.
They're fighting with each other. They're
getting a divorce.
Angry.
Probably. Most likely.
My problem with Sydney in that fight was that she picked it, and then when Victor actually like retaliated, did anything, then she was like, "Oh, like get away from me!" And I was like, if you're gonna talk mess and start the fight with your brother, at least have the balls to not like go whimpering for someone to come save you when he actually retaliates.
Be honest, your problem with that scene was that Sydney was in it.
She blames him for everything
Yeah,
too,
but
and she's
Sydney-
always making stanky faces. And
She's
I
so
just
mean too. How come you got held
stand
back? Shut up, Sydney.
I don't know. She's all these digs at Victor, and then like,
She's
come
so
on,
annoying.
that low blows. Just like,
Low blow.
well,
and
you're
they
not
didn't
really
want
smart.
to
you
do
got held
anything
back.
either. They're just all annoyed and sad, and they just want to play video games, and they're picking fights. And
Yeah.
Well, Drew even
couldn't
tells
even
get
Amber
Drew
it's the
inside.
saddest
Saddest
$40 he ever made.
that was really funny.
And we find
but
out in
really
the
sad.
end, Amber's true motive was to get dinner out of Drew, buying the Chinese food for the night with the $40.
Yep. But so yeah, Drew's having problems babysitting. Amber has to step in now, and actually, they have a brilliant idea of taking the kids to go roller skating, which is fun. Have you guys ever gone roller skating? Yeah.
I love
It's
roller
funny, I
skating.
recognize the roller rink that they shot that at.
Really?
And they've used it in like last week's episode or like another episode before, but this week they were ragging on it. They were having the kids talk about how
were,
terrible it was
yeah.
over and over again. And I'm
Downplaying
like,
that location
they always
hard.
shoot at that location too. So I was kind of surprised how much they were ragging on it this episode.
Well, you have negative Nancy Sydney, so that's
Yes.
why something had to be said about the
she's
place.
like, 70s
Yeah.
style.
She's gonna
so old
complain about
for me.
everything.
You weren't even born, girl.
But I did
You
like
don't know what
seeing,
the 70s is like.
I did like seeing all the cousins together because I feel like that's something that we don't get to see often, especially the older cousins, because there is that age gap between them. You know, Drew even said, I don't have anything in common with them. Like, there's no, like, I don't talk to them hardly ever.
We
So it was
haven't seen Drew really together alone with them. Either.
Yeah, it's like, wow, you know, for their parents to all be so close, the fact that, you know, their kids aren't closer, and I get that there's the age gap, but still, you know, the fact that Drew coming over is a weird thing just seemed kind of off for this family. I was like, wow, I'm glad that they kind of addressed that tonight and kind of set up the stage for them to get closer, in the fact that, you know, both sets of siblings, well, Amber and Drew have gone through it, and, you know, Sydney and Victor are currently going through it.
Yeah.
So at least they have people there.
I love the two generations. I was like, wow, that's so awesome having the current generation who knows who went through that and just like passing on that wisdom. Like it sucks now, but it will get better.
I love that, and her telling her to be nicer to her brother,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
She was like, Drew helped me through what you guys are going through, so be nice to him. Stop picking on him as much.
Yeah, and they could be what Amber and Drew are in 10 years from now.
Amber's so awesome. She just needs to give Sydney some cool points. Like,
Yeah.
she has more to spare, and Sydney desperately
Amber's
needs
Amber's
just
just
great.
so cool. She took all the coolness, and Sydney didn't get any.
What she needs to do is just start hanging out with Sydney a little bit more, you know, because Sydney doesn't have a sister, so she doesn't have a girl role model closer in age. So if I were Sydney, I'd be in awe of my older cousin Amber. I'd be like, oh my gosh, you're so cool, like trying to hang out with her all the time. And, you know, if she were to just come pick me up from school and take me to the mall and all we did was walk around in circles for an hour, I would have been like, oh my god, I had the best day ever with my cool older cousin. And
Yeah, she's the cool person. And, you know, Amber is just so great at talking to the younger generation. They can listen to her, and she understands them as well. And she even had that nice scene with
Yeah, with
Max
Max.
at the luncheonette, saying that, I know bullying is tough, but everyone unfortunately has to go through it. But like just reassuring him that, like, I went through it in high school too. Everyone does. Mm-hmm. So I loved how Amber can have those scenes with the kids, be the voice of the younger generation as well.
The voice of all
Amber's just great
generations.
in all the scenes.
Yeah.
Which
So
was cool tonight, seeing Amber with
Mark.
somebody that we haven't
Yes.
seen in a while.
Mark Cyr comes back. What do you think of Mark's return? Was it as
Strange.
I felt it was kind of anticlimactic considering we only got him for 2 scenes. What did you think of his whole return?
I thought it was weird that Amber calls him Mr. Mark.
Mr. Mark.
This was almost your stepdad. Like, he was 1 click away from being part of the
Yeah.
family, and you call him Mr. Mark.
And she's grown. It's like,
Yeah.
you haven't been in school for a while.
Yeah.
Just call him Mark. It's weird.
Once your mom started screwing him and then almost marrying him, I feel like that gives you the right to just call him Mark. Mm-hmm. You know, but I thought it was funny and cute how she still called him Mr. Mark. But other than that, yeah, it was kind of anticlimactic. I kind of figured once he called Sarah what was actually happening, and then it actually happened.
Okay,
Yeah.
it was really weird that they went to that fancy of a restaurant for him to say that he was engaged to another woman, though. You don't
Yeah.
take your ex-girlfriend to, like, that's like a restaurant you propose to someone at. That's a fancy, like,
And he ordered her
anniversary.
wine that she likes.
Yeah,
Like,
that's like
was
what you
a
do for a
weird
birthday
move.
or something, not like, hey, hope you've been doing well. I'm marrying someone else. Didn't want to tell you over the phone.
Well, I got to give it to Mark. It was nice that they actually had an adult, get back together, dinner to really just like kind of get that closure to that relationship. It felt like closure. And I loved how all this went down before they even ordered.
Yeah, this is also a conversation that could have happened over drinks.
Yeah.
It didn't need to be dinner because he put everything out there before she even had a chance to look at the menu. Mm-hmm. So then what do you talk about?
It's awkward for a while.
The rest of
Awkward,
the
very awkward.
the rest of the dinner, you still have 3 courses coming to you.
Well, that's probably why Mark ordered the wine early to get through all of that so Sarah could get through all that. But yeah, so Mark is engaged now. It's only been a year. He really hasn't changed, but apparently he's moved on. Like, his physical appearance hasn't changed. I figured like something would have changed with him, but I guess
Sarah hasn't changed physically that much in the past year. She didn't really do the
Like
whole I'm
Amber
going to change my
says,
hair.
'cause Drew asked if he looked different, and she was like, it's only been a year.
only
Oh my
been
god,
a
can we
year.
talk about how awkward it was when he's like, you're getting married? And she's like, no. I'm not, actually.
It was so awkward.
So much happens in a year.
Yeah, a lot can happen in a year.
But that was a funny moment. So yeah, but I felt like they underused, like they didn't utilize Mark
It was like a big
as much.
It was a big talk
Yeah.
this whole week. Mark coming back,
Mark is
oh my
back,
gosh,
Mark
what's
is
gonna
back.
happen? What's gonna happen? And then it's just
Wasn't that exciting?
No,
It
well, it
wasn't.
was like, hey, here's Mark to tell you he's never going to be back again. Bye forever.
Or he's
Yeah.
off the market.
yeah. Or here's
was
Mark
just
just
sad.
because he was free this week, so we decided to have him come in and shoot some scenes.
Yeah. But okay, so it felt like closure to this relationship, unfortunately, because I loved Mark and Sarah together. But it kind of still allows the opportunity for Hank and Sarah to still go on, because Hank is still having problems kind of dealing with Sarah in his life, because he's admitting his true feelings again to Pelican. Because he also says that, I liked having her in my life and having this business or professional relationship, but he doesn't know anymore.
And he thought he had a chance.
Yeah.
Am I the only one that feels like they're really dragging on this plot line?
Yeah.
I kind of feel like each week they're like pulling this Hank-Sarah kind of relationship, and it's been dead for a while. Especially pulling in Mark. I thought that was going to be more of like a plot development in like bringing him in. And it kind of just was like, oh, here he is, and that's it. And then back to like Hank wanting Sarah and Sarah not really caring and wanting to move on. And it's kind of just sitting like that for a
Where
long
was
time.
Carl, too? Like, they live in the same building.
He's gone.
Carl went to...
He's in Africa.
Oh, you're right.
And she
I thought that was
said
only for
no.
a week, though.
Yeah, I thought he was coming back.
It's like 2 weeks or something.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, guys,
It was a short trip.
last week's episode happened a day ago.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because
TV
remember, they
world.
only have 72 hours to decide on the
That's
house,
true,
so
that's true.
hasn't been a week in TV years yet.
A lot happens in
Yeah.
Good
3
call.
days.
But I mean, I'm mad at Sarah I'm mad at the Hank and Sarah story because last week Hank was like, I'm through, I'm done. And then immediately came back. And now this week Sarah's still acting like Hank never said these things. You know, never said, I still have feelings for you and I want this to be more. And she's just still not using him, but still right there. And, you know, they're working together again on a new project.
And
they're popping champagne.
Celebrating
and
in
just
her apartment.
yeah, it's like, wait, he just said these things to you last week. I know that was, you know, an emotional time, but at some point you need to realize what you're doing to this man and realize that the way that you lean on him is actually hurting him if you're not going to reciprocate it.
Right, because Hank is pining for Sarah, but Sarah's the one leading him on.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem like they want to get together in that, or Sarah doesn't want to get together in that way. So I hope they kind of finish this, because
She's
now
been too nice.
I'm ready for it to wrap up.
I know. Well,
Me
like
too.
I wanted Mark to come back and really hash out the love triangle.
Yeah,
going
and
on.
it would have been awesome.
And they didn't even have any scene with Hank and Mark.
Yeah, because even when Amber showed up at Sarah's apartment when they were toasting and was like, oh my gosh, so I saw Mark, and then
Yeah.
was like, wait, Hank's here, you know, text me later. I thought that was going to be something more, you know, okay, well, let's see, you know, is Mark going to be the one coming over next to come see her? And
Yeah, is
Hank's
Hank
there.
gonna,
Is
like,
Hank going to
cause-
see him?
I
a
hoped
problem?
they were all three going to be in a scene together. That was my prediction last week.
Yeah.
I was like, I hope there's going to be some drama and all of them are together.
And yet
it
there wasn't.
Nope.
The biggest drama was Hank saying, so how's Mark? And Sarah going, he's engaged. Oh. And then it's done. I'm like,
Yeah. And
Okay.
that was it.
that was weird how they talked about that during this professional photo shoot in front
With
of a
the
model.
model.
I'm like, that's
just
not the
awkwardly
best
sitting
time
there.
and place to talk about your personal relationship. Okay. But I guess Hank's okay with it, because now that Mark is officially kind of out of the picture, he's like, all right, maybe I do still have a shot. Maybe. But
Just give up, Hank.
Give up.
maybe.
Move on, Hank.
Well,
You're better than that.
speaking of moving on, people who seem like they're moving on.
Oh,
Joel and Julia, goodness, this like year-long, season-long problem that they're having. So Joel, we see Joel at the beginning of the episode. He's on a business dinner meeting date. I don't know what you call it. It's always like fancy
business
dinner
celebration.
meeting.
They
Yeah.
sold their first house.
They sold their first house. I mean, good for Joel, good for Pete. But they get together and they're having this dinner, and Joel wants to be the nice guy and pick up the tab. Ends up being how much? $468.36. That's a lot of money.
That's an insane amount of
Isn't
money.
it always so awkward, and like it always seems to happen to you when, you know, you're like, oh, I'll take this one, and then it's always like the most expensive meal ever, and you're like, man, why did I open my mouth? I knew I should have just let her pay.
Right?
But-
And Pete does say, hey, it's company credit. And it's like, go with the company credit. Come on.
tax write-off, man.
Yeah, seriously.
Let's do it.
You gotta love
Also,
it.
very late at night. They were wrapping up that dinner at
Midnight?
like 12:30 or something.
Well, I can
Very
understand
late
that.
at night.
Yeah.
I mean, if you work a full day and then you get off at work at 10, you go to dinner. By the time you're done, it's gonna be around midnight.
Looks sketchy
actually
though
really
when
People
the
in-
credit card
Yeah,
company calls.
Yeah, the credit
Julia.
card company. People in New York don't even go to dinner until 11 p.m. So, I mean, this is definitely...
That is very true. And the same goes for Chicago.
Yeah.
People are out
But
till
for
2 a.m. in
Joel
Chicago.
and Julia, that's a wild night out. They
Yeah.
go to bed early. They have
They have
kids.
But so Joel uses his card, and then Julia gets woken up by this fraud alert notification that, you know, Joel just tried to make this transaction. And of course, Julia has to question everything. Goes to Joel, say, this happened because they're still sharing finances. I figured at this point, you know, get your own checking accounts, man. Break up that joint account.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was interesting, too, that first she takes Sarah to the restaurant to find out because she can't even talk to Joel. Mm-hmm. So that was at least good that Sarah was able to convince her to talk to Joel at all, since she said it had basically been radio silence. But that just lets you know how severe it's been that they're not even speaking.
Yeah. That was a funny scene, though. I do got to give them that. It was nice to see Sarah and Julia just bond in that way. Mm-hmm. But yeah, and then so Julia goes to Joel, talks about this whole thing, and then has to always ask about the personal questions. You're not dating her, you're not sleeping with her, what? And then, what did you think of Joel's reaction to that?
He had been bottling that up for a hot minute, you could tell.
Yeah.
Yeah, he really was.
Because I feel like he was harping on some things that I thought we had moved past.
Well, Julia clearly did.
Oh, yeah,
too.
Julia clearly had to. And also, I want him to get the story straight. I love you, Joel, but she did not have an affair with Ed.
Yep. No, that didn't happen at
that
all.
did not happen. That's a figment of your imagination.
Well, but I love this show, how good they are with backstory and sliding in that subtle line about, I know that you had infidelity with your parents and that was a big issue, and him saying, can we just focus on us? But that one little line just lets you know so much.
So much about why he's harping on this. And I mean, I know that, she didn't have an affair, but it was still kind of like an emotional cheating type of thing going on with her and Ed. Sorry, I'm not a fan of his.
No.
But I don't know, it just felt like so much was bottled up and that Joel was unhappy for so much longer than we even knew about it. Because that's what it really seems like, and this is all catching Julia off guard. And the part for me, I didn't understand why he was so upset that she was asking, what are we doing? Because I was thinking the same thing. If I don't know what's happening right now because we don't speak to each other, I don't know if I should be getting ready to split our finances and actually pursuing to find a job because I'm about to be, divorced and need a single income. Or if you just need your space and that, eventually we're going to talk and we're going to come back together and work on the marriage. I thought it was a legit question she was asking, and he got
I thought so too.
So upset.
It needs to be asked.
It's like someone has to say it, right?
It needs to be answered because they keep dragging this storyline out too. Because every time we see them fight, they're always talking about the same things. Like, we know all these problems already. Just, let the audience know if they're going to work it out or if they're not going to. And Joel says tonight that at this point right now, they're not going to work it out.
He was pretty upset that she had the whole career life and he was at home and did that for her. Mm-hmm. And then when the roles reversed, she couldn't handle it. And I think he was very upset in their marriage or relationship the whole time he was working because she was so upset and bitter. And I think that's really what dragged down the relationship. But he didn't speak up and say it. He was just kind of dying inside from it because he was really upset when they talked. And I don't think the audience or any of us really knew how bad it was for him because he's more of a quiet person.
Yeah, he's an introvert.
He's introverted.
I mean, I can understand that, but he's really letting it up tonight, saying that it's not working, they're not getting back together as of right now.
Well, she's just making a mistake left and right, too, though.
Yeah, and so what did you think of Julia going back to Ed?
There are so many other people in the world that you can go on a date with. Don't go out on a date with the guy your husband already thinks you had an affair with because now you're kind of
proving his
point that something was going on there.
If you ever want anything to work out between you and your husband, don't ever speak to Ed again.
No. Yeah, there's her doing that is basically officially stamping her and Joel are over and going in. We're going to be going into predictions, but I don't think they are going to get back together because she's doing that.
Well, I mean, she was doing a lot of things in the preview for next week, too, so it looks like someone's having a little too much fun. Her husband was like, we're not getting back together, and she's like, all right, woo!
We're going wild.
I feel like Julia just always needs, she's kind of codependent, emotionally codependent. She needs someone with her.
Yeah.
Just to, because she's not happy right now. She needs someone to make her happy. And I guess Ed always being there at all the wrong times.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was actually really understanding that Julia would go to Ed for the help.
But, you know, maybe it's something different than what we thought it was because we didn't hear any words. We just see them meeting and walking in somewhere together.
Library bar?
I mean, they could just be meeting up for a drink because last week, remember, there was the hand
touching.
And
that was Pete.
Yeah,
okay, that was ridiculous.
Yeah, and they made it seem like Joel was the one on a date. But, you know, tonight we see that they were both kind of reached for the check, and it was kind of an awkward moment, but it wasn't.
It was like nothing, though. It was like they both just reached for it, and they're like, oh, okay, I got it.
The editing, they really played that up.
So we don't know what exactly is going to happen with Ed and Julia right now because we just see them going to a bar together. We don't know specifics if she called him and was like, I'd like to go on a date, or if she was just like, my husband just said we're not going to work things out. I need a drink. Are you available? I don't have any other friends. So I'm just saying.
That's why you drink by yourself.
Well, that makes you an alcoholic.
Stay home and drink by yourself.
I would just think Hank mentality. There's a Braverman on every corner. Just grab one of those and be like, drink with me. Call Crosby. He'll never say no.
Maybe. Okay, so anything else about this episode that we didn't talk about, we'd like to discuss?
Oh, the one thing I wanted to point out, when they took Sydney and Victor skating, and then they finally actually joined in, those kids were decked out in every sort of knee pad, elbow pad, butt pad. I was like, when I was a kid, you just went with it. And if you fell, you got a scratch, but you got up and you kept going. I was like, what is this? Like, they looked like the Bubble Boy. Like, they had pads on every inch of their body.
But the other kids at the rink didn't. Just them.
The other kids at the rink don't have to be insured actors. No, there's the difference.
These faces equal money. The other ones, they're extras. It's
like,
fine.
Look, we're trying to come back next season. We're not trying to hurt these children.
Yeah. I was actually surprised they didn't just put helmets on them with like a full face mask before they went out there. But I just thought that was funny.
Yeah, I noticed that too. That was really funny. Okay, so you know what? Let's go to some news and gossip, shall we?
AFTERBUZZ TV News.
All right, so a couple fun things. We know how last week's episode, May and Drew, well, Amber and Drew, they sang that acoustic guitar song. And actually, that's not the first time they have sung together. Apparently, May and Miles, in the summer of 2013, I believe it was like June or July, last year, they sang just a little bit, and you can find the video online, of them singing an excerpt from Taylor Swift's Mean together. It was just a fun little duet that they like insta-video. So I'm sure you can find that out. If I can find it, I'll tweet the link. So, and just having that happened last year, that kind of added to Parenthood that they should do it in an actual episode for real. So I thought that was cool. And another fun little fact that I didn't know, do you guys know, have you seen the Disney Frozen movie that just came out last week on DVD? Well, Tyree Brown was actually the voice of young Kristoff.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
I didn't know that.
I did not know that.
Yeah. I thought that was cool. And also, Sam Yeager just got a new job. He, according to Deadline.com, Sam Yeager enlists for American Sniper, which is Clint Eastwood's new movie out. And the film stars Bradley Cooper, and Bradley Cooper plays the main character called Chris Kyle. But Yeager's character, he will play Captain Martin, who welcomes Chris back to Iraq for the second tour of duty of his commanding officer on his subsequent tour.
Marissa, you scared the crap out of me because you said he got a new job, but didn't say it was a movie. And I was like, oh my gosh, so he's not going to be on next season of Parenthood? Which, I mean, they still haven't announced yet, but I'm just, I just was like,
sorry for that scare.
You almost gave me a heart attack.
So check him out on Clint Eastwood's new movie. There's no date yet set to release for that, but they're filming it right now. And also another fun little article I found today, news. They interviewed Peter Cross and Lauren Graham about the whole Joel Julia situation. And they asked them, whose side would you be on? They're like, well, we got to go with our sister. So they both said they would root for Joel. But they also interviewed Jason Katims about this whole relationship that's going on with Jolia, whatever that relationship is called. And Jason Katims says that his own 12-year-old daughter hates Joel right now. So that's very telling, and it helps Jason in the producing of the show. And Jason said it felt like something we hadn't explored yet on the show, that the breaking up of a marriage. And he says, just for a couple reasons, Joel was the one who chose to leave. Therefore, some more people would be on Julia's side. And plus, Julia is a Braverman, so that makes us kind of biased that we would root for her as well. And Peter Cross says that he thinks women get hurt over faster. So, which was really telling, because he says women tend to get hurt and then they move on and accept it and forgive, and then men, they do the same way, but he says we hang on to it a little bit longer. I don't know. Maybe that's Peter's perspective on whole breakups of relationships. But Jason Katims says, just wait. There's definitely a twist coming, which I think will be interesting to see. And he says for the next 4 episodes, for the last 4 episodes of season 5, it will definitely be a roller coaster ride.
Ooh.
So, yeah. And NBC still hasn't announced if it's coming back for season 6. I think we'll probably find out those results in May, which I'm hoping. I think that the numbers are actually pretty good for NBC right now, especially the time slot that they're at. It's more, Jason Katims said, very likely.
And the NBC upfronts are in like a week or so. So, yeah. I mean, they should be making some announcements around then, too. That's a perfect platform to announce shows that you're going to pick up.
I hope it comes
back. So we'll find out soon. I mean, I'm sure there's so many more stories of the Bravermans that we have yet to tell to the world. Yeah, so, but there are no fun pictures tonight, and not a lot of the cast members tweeted out any pictures this week.
Maybe they're all spoilers, so they couldn't.
Maybe. Who knows? But you know what? Let's get to some predictions.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Alright, so we've seen in the teaser for next week, Julia's getting it on with Mr. Knight.
You know what? I ain't mad at it. That's all I'm going to say.
I'm not either.
I like Mr. Knight a lot more than Ed.
Yeah, I agree.
I hope the Ed thing is just her talking to Ed again and having one of those conversations like they always do. Like, Joel thinks I did this with you and blah, 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 and hug and maybe awkward kiss and then go bang Mr. Knight.
Well, I can understand why Julia, she kind of needs some love in her life right now, but that's going to backfire on her so hard, and Joel's going to throw that in her face too, and that's not going to help their marriage.
I don't think they're going to be able to come back from this.
Who knows?
I mean, let's think about it. These Bravermans, they always find a way to get involved with teachers, tutors, like anyone who's teaching their nieces or nephews or even their own kids. And it hasn't really worked well for anyone yet. No. Yeah. So I just hope that this whole Julia and Mr. Knight thing doesn't affect the school that Christina and Adam are trying to do.
Christina will lose it on
because,
Julia.
I mean, if this affects him and his involvement in it because things don't work out well, or if, Julia and Joel end up getting back together and then, have to be around this guy, I don't see how that's going to be good.
It's too awkward.
Yeah, that would be really awkward. So I hope that Mr. Knight... maybe he's gonna be her knight in shining armor, and
Aww. No pun intended.
No pun intended. So it was.
So what do you think is gonna? Do we think the house is really gonna sell?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think so too.
I think that the show's kind of gonna have a makeover. I don't know if it's gonna end or not, but I think the house is gonna be gone. I think Julia and Joel are gonna stay split.
Yeah. Where would Zeke and Camille go now that they don't have a house?
I hope they go somewhere cool.
If they didn't have a house. Somewhere cool?
Like a little cool home base so that they can travel a lot.
Maybe get an RV.
Or
Winnebago and just like travel.
Just
travel
park
cross country.
Yeah, just park it outside of your kid's house.
San Francisco and did a bunch of San Francisco scenes, since they kind of touch on that here and there a little bit.
Yeah, and then of course we see Hank still questioning his relationship with Sarah. So hopefully, I just hope they wrap that up. Yes, I agree, Tiana. It's too much.
It's too much.
Blah blah blah. I hope that next week is the last time we have to hear about Hank and Sarah. Will they? Won't they? They won't. And then we can all move on.
I think they need to wrap up all of Sarah's relationship, because we got Mark back. We felt like we got a closure for him. And then hopefully we'll get closure with Hank and Sarah's interesting relationship right now. And you know what? Let's end it on that note. Where can we all find you to keep this awesome conversation going?
You can find me on Twitter and on Instagram at the Tiona Hobson.
You can find me on Twitter at Alana Jordan.
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Danica Kennedy.
And you can follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at Serafini TV. You can follow all of us here at AfterBuzz on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that fun stuff at AfterBuzz TV. Thank you, Phil, for engineering, and we will see you next week.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.